Hi, this is Eric Martin with Board Game Geek. I'm here with John Paul Brusagati from Gale Force 9. We're talking about Tyrants of the Underdark, which is the first Dungeons & Dragons game from Gale Force 9.
Yes, although this is a collaboration.
Yes.
The Wizards team who did Waterdeep have produced this, and as part of taking over the board games and making our own, this wonderful game came out of the woodwork, and so we've been able to get a bonus game on the schedule.
Well, they presented it as being done. Or mostly done.
Mostly done. And I mean, games like this that have had time to evolve. Peter and the team at Wizards have been playtesting and working on this for in excess of a year, from what I understand.
Right.
And so the game is very polished. We've added some color and some nice models to put it in its setting, but it's got the feel of these guys. You can see their fingerprints over it. So if you're a fan of Waterdeep, you're definitely going to want to pick this one up.
So why license it to Gale Force 9 as opposed to publish it themselves? Is it just the expectations of Hasbro in terms of what Wizards should be doing, or do you have any idea?
I think Wizards in the last few years has gone through a phase of focusing their efforts and choosing to be the keeper of the story and the overall arc, rather than worrying about making every single piece of every single puzzle. And so we're lucky enough to be their oldest licensee. We're in our 8th year of working with them for accessories, miniatures, and our board game street cred has increased the last few years. And so as we were talking about what are you going to do, the conversation came about, and I think there's a level of trust with we're going to look after it, we're going to treat D&D the way we've treated everything else, and so we've been lucky enough to be given the scope to do things that I think, in all truth, as much as Wizards would like to do everything and explore every avenue with D&D, they just haven't got the time, and it's a great opportunity.
I guess so. More important for them just to focus on this, let everything else fall.
And you can see, I mean, 5th edition and the refocusing on 5th, how the new story arcs are being done. The brand has never been stronger. There's still a lot more things to come, and it's allowing partner companies, people like us, to come and help really concentrate on something which I think Wizards always wanted to do but didn't have quite the time. Whereas in our case, this is now a core part of our business, and so and the D&D brand's just a wonderful. There's no end of game possibilities. You just have to have the time to say what's coming first.
Right, and you just recently announced this next title due out in 2017.
Yep.
Which is tied in. I forget the title of the Giants. Forgetting the.
Well, no, there's rolling. There's a mix of things. With the rolling story arc and the modules, we'll be making additional accessories and things to go with it. Our first board game standalone will be called Thieves Guild, and that's for next year. So,
what is the other one I'm thinking of then?
You're thinking of the WizKids one. It's got the pre-painted giants in it.
So it's solely multiple licensees. Rolling up these storylines here.
Well, the WizKids one is linked to the specific module. What we're trying to achieve is some evergreen products, so much more in keeping with the classic board games of the past, like Waterdeep, Tyrants. It'll feel familiar. You'll recognize the Underdark, but this isn't set at this moment in time. Whereas things that are linked to right now, if you were releasing a Curse of Strahd board game, it would make sense. Whether that board game makes sense in 3 years' time and it's an evergreen product or not is would be the choices.
You can see my familiarity here with Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm
just
there's a lot to know. There's many years of material here, and even when you think you know it, there's always someone else who knows that little bit more.
Who is correcting things on the board? I don't know if you.
Well, I mean, in here, there's one of the things that's wonderful both about Salvatore's writings about the Underdark and Dritz and the D&D as a whole is they've, like Tolkien, had a lot of fun adding more consonants to words to make them more difficult to pronounce. And some of these places, there is actually a guide in the back of the rulebook to help you phonetically say these places correctly, because there's nothing worse in polite D&D company than mispronouncing the city of the Illithids.
Okay.
Which I'm not going to do on camera in case I get it wrong.
That's right. Huge faux pas.
Yeah, so Gauntle Grim, that one's not so bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can handle some of these.
Yeah, some of them are a bit easier, but some are definitely a challenge. So
okay.
So
maybe we talk about the game itself.
Okay.
Here. What's the setting? We talked about.
Setting is
you already have this.
Yep, setting is the Underdark.
Yes.
So you're in the Underdark and the expanse of the Underdark. So several hundred miles of tunnels in the deep, from the city of the Dark Elves through to where the Myconoids live, the Illithids. So this represents a map of hundreds of square miles.
Okay.
You're each playing one of the Drow houses, and you're fighting for supremacy of the Underdark. The board itself is your troops, spies going out into the Underdark from one of your bases, which will be one of the black locations. You'll choose a location. The game is set to be a 2, 3, or 4 player. 2 players would use the center section. A 3rd player adds one of the sides. A 4th player uses the whole board.
Okay.
The currency in the game are influence and power. Power allows you to deploy troops, assassinate, take over places. As you arrive in the Underdark, the bone-coloured pieces represent the people who unfortunately live there that you have to sweep away to dominate.
Okay.
And the 4 houses, black, blue, red, and orange, are your Drow houses.
Okay.
The influence part of the game is your shopping currency. So that's the deck building market deck. You'll all be starting with the same set of cards to get you going, but you'll be adding cards as you go, depending on your influence, and the stronger, the larger the value of the card, the more its rules will allow you to do. In this case, what's this? This Etin, you'll be able to either deploy 3 troops or assassinate 2 white troops. Okay. But he would have cost you 4 influence to add him to your deck, and you are cycling through your cards at 5 at a time. So you're having a really quick hand.
Okay.
You're doing option A, option B. You might be doing all influence, all attack, because you're building 3 things to help score.
Okay.
The first is dominance of locations on the board. So when you take over a place, if at the end of the game that place is in your hands, you will score some points. If it's completely in your hands, you have all 5 locations, you're going to get a bonus.
Okay.
The cities, the larger locations, are worth additional points, and throughout the game will generate victory points and more influence. So cities are worth fighting over early game, but like all locations on the board, come the final bell, who's in control of what scores.
Okay.
The second thing you'll score is your deck. Your pile of cards are worth 2 different values, depending on where they are. The 1 point if it's in your main hand, or 2 points if it's been promoted to your inner circle at some point throughout the game. So there are cards you can trim from your deck and promote to help your deck building skills, or you're simply promoting them because they're worth a lot of points end game.
Okay.
And the third thing where you'll score is throughout the game. Every time you kill something, you get a trophy, and that's worth a point. And the VPs in the game are worth a point. So you're on your house card, you'll be accumulating in your trophy pile that way around.
Yeah.
So as I start killing innocent bystanders of the Underdark, they'll go in my trophy pile. As I start killing the other troops, my trophy haul it's the heads, the ears of my enemies, and they're all worth points.
Okay.
There is no way to genuinely keep track of who is in the lead throughout the game because your deck is hidden. Right. Your inner circle cards are hidden. So most games will finish somewhere between about 60 and 80 points, maybe even up to 100, which means that visually on the board, you might keep track of 20 or 30 of them, but so much is unknown. Every point to the last bell counts. Okay. So you literally need to be stabbing each other in the back and stealing points from each other right till the end.
Okay.
Very drow.
Okay.
Now the game ends, the final turn of the game ends, the first person who deploys their last troop or the last card is drawn from the market deck. And that will signal whoever does that, they are having their last turn, everybody else gets 1 go, and then you're doing your count up. So the very last player, he'll be able to deploy spies and contest things, assassinate something, he'll ruin everybody else's game. hopefully stealing some points back, and then when you tot it all up on your little score sheet, you'll find out who is truly the Tyrant of the Underdark.
Okay. And this is not all the cards, just leaving out a sampling of
the card decks in the game. The market deck is made up of 2 half decks, which are themed.
Okay.
So that these are demons and drow we have out, but you have elementals and dragons too. Okay. And so it's any combination of the 2 makes up your market deck. So you'll be able to play half a dozen times before you've sampled all the pairings.
Right.
And the game plays, because you're 5 cards you're passing around fairly quickly. You're talking about 60 minutes, 90 for your first game, but 60 minutes, and it's bloodthirsty, and it suits that wonderful gaming group that all know each other and have no problem sticking it to each other, because you have to do that to win. There's no politeness in this game.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the overview.
No problem.
Tyrants of the Underdark.